Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jainadire. Nashtaprayesha Bhadresha Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Ruttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Om Agnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya. Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिनि नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणि निर्विशेषशून्यवादि पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृन्द हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Okay, 3:32:26. ज्ञानमात्रं परं ब्रह्म परमात्मेश्वर पुमान् दृश्यादिभिः पृथग्भावैर्भगवानेकय्यते. Supreme Personality of Godhead alone is complete transcendental knowledge. But according to the different processes of understanding, he appears differently either as impersonal Brahman, as Paramatma, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or as the Purusha Avatara. The word Drishya Adivihi is significant. According to Jiva Goswami, Drishi means Gnana, philosophical research. By different processes of philosophical research under different concepts, such as the process of Gnana Yoga, the same Bhagavan is understood as impersonal Brahman. So, same Bhagavan is understood as impersonal Brahman because their process allows them to only reach till there. It's the limitation of the process. And yeah, the whole concept that they're following. Similarly, by the eightfold yoga system, Ashtanga Yoga, he appears as the Paramatma. But in pure Krishna consciousness or knowledge in purity, uh, when one tries to understand the absolute truth, one realizes him as the Supreme Person. See here, Prabhupada is using the word one realizes him. So this is not a process of some just knowledge. Krishna consciousness is not doesn't just end in knowledge. Krishna consciousness has to end in realization. Hmm. So knowledge in purity results in realization. And the important part is knowledge has to be pure. Knowledge, what is the meaning of pure knowledge? Anybody wants to say what is the meaning of knowledge in purity? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, bro.
Yeah.
So basically, uh, getting to that your constitutional position, right, Swarupa.
Okay. Okay. Knowledge in purity simply means following acharyas, following parampara. Then that
Oh,
knowledge is pure, right?
hmm,
Because impure knowledge means when it comes from our mind, then the knowledge becomes impure. Then it is mundane, basically, right? So pure
right.
knowledge means that it just whatever is coming in parampara as it is pure knowledge. So, and that Krishna consciousness is pure. When that Krishna consciousness becomes mixed with mixed knowledge or impure knowledge, it becomes mixed Krishna consciousness. Basically, it is Mishra Bhakti. So the important part is knowledge. Now, I'm making this point specifically because yesterday we had festival and lot of devotees had got their own deities, right? Gaur Nitai deities. And specifically, I saw so many instances where devotees were keeping their Gaur Nitai on the same table where somebody is sitting and eating. And I happened to see one Mataji with the deities, and I just requested her saying that, Mataji, please don't keep it here. They're all sitting and eating prasadam on the same table. Looks like nobody has informed them what is deity worship, what it is to take care of deities. So their knowledge is either incomplete or impure. And when this incomplete or impure knowledge, when you're repeatedly consuming this imperfect or incomplete knowledge, When somebody gives you complete knowledge, also you are not willing to accept. So that Mataji did not realize the grave mistake that she was doing, and I was feeling sorry that she's doing a big seva aparad. I'm repeatedly saying this. Seva aparad results in nama aparad, nama aparad results in lack of progress, and eventually people might even leave Krishna consciousness. It's very, very important that as it is, knowledge should be given, especially by preachers. I mean, this is the work of preachers. If preachers are not giving complete knowledge, mm, mm, for example, DTs came and everybody were touched. It is on everybody's head. We don't know what is that environment there, how pure people are, uh, and the whole, yeah, I mean, because again, nobody tells. So these things have to be taken care. I mean, DT worship is such a most serious affair. Yesterday or day before, I put a small message from Prabhupada's purport in Chaitanya Charitamrita about how DT worship is so important and requires so much attention. That yeah, I mean we we won't experience any of these results immediately. It's not like some shapa, some curse will happen. But we will our taste in Krishna consciousness will not increase. It will be on the mundane platform. We can't recognize it also that we are on the mundane platform because it will just look like bhakti. This is what Rupa Goswami and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu they talk about weeds. Weeds look exactly like devotional service. So you can't make out at all whether it's a weed or actually it's pure devotion. So it's a big, big, big responsibility on the part of preachers to actually educate devotees who are naive, who don't understand, who don't read Prabhupada's books, unfortunately. So knowledge in purity, only in that knowledge in purity can we realize him. Otherwise, we'll just think about him as a doll, right? And we'll think I can keep him anywhere. Him also, nahi. That's a it. I will keep that. That DT has come. No, not that DT has come. The lordships have come. Right. So from there, we have to change. You have to train people to understand that he is a person. He is a supreme person. If we cannot even understand that the deities are actually Swayam Bhagavan, um, what will we realize him? Mhm. A big responsibility. The transcendence is realized simply on the basis of knowledge. See, the words used here, Paramatmeshwara Puman, are all transcendental and they refer to Supersoul. Supersoul is also described as Purusha, but the word Bhagavan directly refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is full of six opulences: wealth, fame, strength, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. He is the Personality of Godhead in different spiritual skies. The various descriptions of Paramatma, Ishvara, and Puman indicate that the expansions of the Supreme Godhead are unlimited. Ultimately, to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one has to accept Bhakti Yoga. By executing Gnana Yoga or Dhyana Yoga, one has to eventually approach the Bhakti Yoga platform, and then Paramatma, Ishvara, Puman, etc. are all clearly understood. It is recommended in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam that whether one is a devotee or fruitive actor or liberationist, akama sarvakamo va moksha kama udaradihi, tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. If he is intelligent enough, he should engage himself with all seriousness. Tivrena, see, this is the word tivra, hmm, in the process of devotional service. It is also explained that whatever one desires, which is obtainable by fruitive activities, even if one wants to be elevated to higher planets, can be achieved simply by execution of devotional service. Of course, this is not the topmost platform. But Shukadev Goswami is saying, don't go to any other demigods. Come to Krishna. You have material desires, fruitive desires, no problem. You want moksha, no problem. Come to Krishna and execute devotional service. Since the Supreme Lord is full in six opulences, he can bestow any one of them upon the worshipper. And like we've been discussing, Krishna bestows. Krishna takes care of his devotees. All we need to do is follow his instructions. The one Supreme Person of Godhead reveals himself to different thinkers as the Supreme Person or impersonal Brahman or Paramatma. Impersonalists merge into the impersonal Brahman, but that is not achieved by worshipping the impersonal Brahman. Hmm. If one takes to devotional service at the same time desires to merge into existence of Supreme Lord, he can achieve that. So what Prabhupada is saying here is those who want to merge into impersonal Brahman, even if for them also, if they don't do bhakti, they have to take up some form of devotional service. And in this form of devotional service, these impersonalists, they think that this form of the Lord, Archa Vigraha, is a temporary manifestation. And then they say, okay, once I achieve perfection, then there's nothing because everything is energy, void, shunya, whatever their concept is. But for them also to merge also, they have to take to devotional service. They cannot do. Just by jnana process, they cannot merge into Brahman. They have to do some yoga. Uh, so Gnana Yoga will result in merging into impersonal Brahman. That's what Prabhupada is saying. If one takes to devotional service and at the same time desires to merge, he can achieve that. If someone desires to all at all to merge into existence of Supreme, he has to execute devotional service. Again, the same thing in the other. Devotee can see the Supreme Lord face to face here in this material world. But the Jnani, not empiric philosopher, and the yogi cannot. They cannot be elevated to the positions of associates of the Lord. Now, again, this is not a very cheap thing to be elevated to the position of associate of the Lord. We should all remember that at the current point of time, we are all practicing Vaidhi Bhakti. Vaidhi Bhakti is not about thinking ourselves as associates of the Lord. Vaidhi Bhakti is thinking of ourselves mainly as servants of the Lord and following the rules and regulations that have been given. That is Vaidhi Bhakti. Of course, we can develop some spontaneity. But that spontaneity is not Raganuga Bhakti. That spontaneity to just, okay, get up early in the morning to go for Mangalarti or to take up some service enthusiastically, that spontaneity is not necessarily Raganuga Bhakti. That spontaneity just shows that, okay, we are moving little, we are progressing from pure play Vaidhi Bhakti, which is, just doing everything just because we have to just do it because somebody has told. And doing something which somebody not doing something which authorities have told is anyway transgression of basic etiquette of uh, Vaishnavas. We have to accept authority. Authorities have to be capable, and then we will make progress. But following doing our own things, thinking that we are elevated, is not recommended. That becomes sahajiya. So at neophyte stage, we have to follow rules. We have to follow rules. There's no evidence in the scriptures stating that by cultivating knowledge or worshipping the impersonal Brahman, one can become a personal associate of the Supreme Lord. Nor by executing the yogic principles can one become an associate of the Supreme Lord. Impersonal Brahman, being formless, is described as Adrushya because the impersonal effulgence of Brahmajyoti covers the face of the Supreme Lord. Hmm. Some yogis see the four-handed Vishnu sitting within the heart, and therefore, in their case also, the Supreme Lord is invisible. Paramatma is visible, but not the Supreme Lord. Bhagavan is not visible. Paramatma is just a amsha of the Supreme Lord, plenary portion, expansion. Lord is visible only to the Supreme, only to the devotees. Premanjana Churita. That too only Premanjana Churita. Because otherwise we will not even see the Lord as Lord. If we are seeing the Archa Vigraha, we think it's an idol. We don't see the Lord as Lord. We're not supposed to show our back to the deities because it's just disrespectful. It's just disrespectful. So if we see the Lord actually residing there, we will not show our back to the deity ever. But unfortunately, because we don't see the Supreme Lord there, we see an idol. See, because if we see the Supreme Lord, we should understand his supreme position. This is why jnana is required. We should understand his supreme position. I mean, you suppose I'm just keep giving this example of Narendra Modi or any important person in the material world, so-called important person. Would you go stand in front of him with your back? It's just a very simple etiquette. Mm. But because we don't see the Supreme Lord, we will show our back to the Supreme Lord and we will do our own conversation. Not even like no consciousness that the Supreme Lord is there. Here the statement Drishya Adibihi is significant. Since the Supreme Person of Godhead is both invisible and visible, there are different features of the Lord. The Paramatma feature and Brahman feature are the invisible. But the Bhagavan feature is visible. In the Vishnu Purana, this fact is very nicely explained. The universal form of the Lord and the formless Brahman effulgence of the Lord, being invisible, are inferior features. The concept of the universal form is material, and the concept of impersonal Brahman is spiritual, but the highest spiritual understanding is personality of Godhead. Vishnu Purana states Vishnu Brahma Swarupena Swameva Vyavastithaha. Brahman's real feature is Vishnu. The supreme Brahman is Vishnu. Swameva. That is his personal feature. The supreme spiritual conception is the supreme personality of Godhead. Bhagavan. It is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Yadgatva anivartante taddhama paramam mama. That specific abode called Paramam Mama is the place from which once one attains it, one does not return to this miserable condition life. Every place, every space, and everything belongs to Vishnu. But where he personally lives is the Dhama Paramam, his supreme abode. Personally lives. One has to make one's destination the supreme abode of the Lord. So you have to make this as our destination. एतावानेव योगेन समग्रेणेह योगिनः युज्यते भिमतो ह्यर्थो यदसङ्गस्तु कृत्स्नशः. The greatest common understanding of for all yogis is complete detachment from matter. All yogis, all kind of transcendentalists. Greatest, it is great, and it's a common understanding everybody has. Is what detachment from matter, which can be achieved by different kinds of yoga. There are three kinds of yoga: bhakti, gnana, ashtanga yoga. Devotees, gnanis, and yogis all try to get out of the material entanglement. The gnanis try to detach their sensual activities from material engagement. Gnana yogi thinks that matter is false and that Brahman is truth. Brahma Satya Jagan Mithya. Therefore, by cultivation of knowledge, he tries to detach the senses from material enjoyment. That what cultivation of knowledge, seeing everything as Brahman, that we are also Brahman, and that these material things are also Brahman. So it's not for our sense enjoyment. They are not material. Only when we look at things as material do we think of sense enjoyment. So start seeing everything as Brahman, spiritual. This is Gnana. Ashtanga yogis also try to control the senses. Devotees, however, try to engage the senses in the service of the Lord. See, beautiful. Huh? Control the senses and engage the senses. Now, important thing is for us to understand is when we don't engage our senses in the service of the Lord, what do we do? So when we don't engage the senses in the service of the Lord, we still have to control the senses. But if we engage our senses so much in the service of the Lord that we don't have time for anything else, then it results in automatic control. But if we are engaging our senses in the service of the Lord only part time, rest of the time we have to then try to control the senses. Otherwise, the senses will go crazy. It further bind us. This is Mishra. Therefore, it appears that the activities of the bhaktas are better than those of the gnanis and yogis, provided they engage their senses in the service of the Lord to a large extent. The mystic yogis simply try to control the senses by practicing the 8 divisions of yoga, yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, etc. And the gnanis try by mental reasoning to understand that sense enjoyment is false. But the easiest and most direct process is to engage the senses in the service of the Lord. Now, what happens when we engage the senses continuously, constantly in the service of the Lord? And along with that, like last verse, Prabhupada is saying that we get pure knowledge. When we are not actually directly engaging senses in the service of the Lord, when we are engaged in samanya duty, normal duty, day-to-day stuff, right? Then the jnana comes in and tells us saying that no, this is not object of your enjoyment because it is all for the enjoyment of the Supreme Lord. So on that platform, and not just on the platform of saying everything is Brahman, nothing is material, because that's not motivating enough. But when we say everything here is for the enjoyment of the Lord, even I am here for the enjoyment of the Lord. My senses are also for the enjoyment of the Lord because He's Rishikesh and He's the owner of my senses. Then slowly and steadily, by that Krishna consciousness, Bhagavan consciousness, we can slowly and steadily gain control over senses. But it's not an artificial process. It's still a process wherein we are thinking of the Lord as a person, and we are just trying to ascertain or be sure about our position with respect to Him, what we need to do, how we need to engage our senses, etc., etc. The thing is, if we don't think about this, if it doesn't come to our mind saying that it is Krishna and it is for his enjoyment, but if we keep thinking, no, no, it's okay, I can also eat chocolate once in a while, I can eat non prasadam once in a while, because that is sense enjoyment, which is not in service of the Lord, then our senses will become slowly we are releasing the senses from, the pure situation that we have put the senses in by engaging senses in the service of the Lord, we give some leeway, dhila chhod dete hain. We'll give some leeway, right? Then what happens? The senses will start misbehaving. Now, then they will want to do more things, other things, which are not recommended, and which manifest simply as whimsical behavior. Whimsical behavior means just I will do whatever I want. In the name of bhakti, I will do whatever I want. So this is the problem with not following things properly. So Prabhupada's statements are very, very clear, but very deep. Uh, so these things, it took me many years to understand. A simple statement like this is to always struggle to understand, saying that how is it that, bhakti yogi doesn't have to, put any control over his senses. Because that control is actually automatic. But it takes a lot of time for us to reach that stage. Of course, if we don't even understand that this is how we have to think about the world around us, then we will not reach this at all. Because most of us end up doing part-time bhakti. Bhakti activities are only a small part of our day. And if our consciousness is also, if we don't even have knowledge, then how can we get to this? Prabhupada is saying easiest and most direct process, this bhakti yoga. The purpose of all yoga is to detach one's sense activities from this material world, but with different viewpoint. The final aims, however, are different. Gnanis want to become one with Brahman effulgence, yogis want to realize Paramatma, and devotees want to develop Krishna consciousness and transcendental loving service. This love, in every introductory class, I speak about this, any introductory Bhagavad Gita session. I ask people, what is love? Can somebody tell me what is love? Simple definition. Don't give me some verse.
When you unconditionally do something, you go beyond comfort zone and do something for somebody without
Okay.
keeping you in the center.
Okay. Okay. Any other
Service without expectations, Prabhu.
service without expectations? Okay.
Prabhu, when we look into the Lord's eyes and when he reciprocates, that is love.
Yeah, but that is lip service. See, anything which is not practical, Prabhupada called it bhakti seva, right? Not bhakti. Bhakti means it can just be lip service. Like, I see the eyes of the Lord and I'm happy, but I don't do anything for him. That's not love. Love is practical.
But
Just,
that love doesn't come just by looking at the Lord's eyes without doing service, right, Prabhu?
yeah, but then love means you should not restrict yourself to just saying, I saw the eyes of the Lord and I felt love. Because that is not love. When you love somebody, you do something for them, right? So that is the complete definition. Now I'm still asking for a more complete definition of love. This is not complete definition.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Sacrificing and serving. Sacrificing our time.
Okay, sacrificing. Okay. Sacrifice word itself is a little bit of somewhat like it's mine, but I'm giving it to somebody, right?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Prabhu, the intention to read more and hear more about the Lord to
It's
love Him.
okay. Again, that's all preparatory. See, this Ravanam Kirtanam is preparing us for loving Krishna. Now I'm asking, forget about loving Krishna. I'm asking simply normal English word. Of course, don't take love as lust, but when we see love, when we hear this word love, there's a very
It's
important meaning.
Prabhu, it's an emotion which we
Emotion,
carry
okay.
in our mental state.
Prabhu,
Yeah.
it's basically unconditional love.
No,
Keeping
but
aside,
unconditional means what?
Doing what
ignore-
other people are liking.
See, this is the point. Love means actually doing what that person whom we are loving likes. This is love, right? Love means doing whatever that person whom we are trying to love, whatever he likes, doing that is love. Normally, what our conception of love is, so for example, say somebody comes home. How do we show our love to that person? We will obviously offer that person prasadam. But we will not, our concept of love is if I overfeed him, then that is love. No, but that's not love. That's inconveniencing the person, right? Love actually means offering that person whatever he wants to whatever extent he wants. If it is more, it is more. If it is less, it is less. That is love because that person is happy, saying that, oh, this person nicely took care of me. Then the emotion, everything comes in. See, please understand that love is not just on the mental platform. We are talking about spiritual platform. Mental platform, I might have emotions for somebody, but I might just not do anything about it. And love actually means reciprocation, doing what the other person likes. Please don't forget this. This is so foundational for understanding relationship with Krishna. So when we talk about love, meaning doing things that are liked by that person. That is why Prabhupada says, all activities for the satisfaction of the Krishna of Supreme Lord. Satisfaction means this, that whatever we are doing is making him happy. That is love. Now, how do we know whether what we are doing is making somebody happy? How do we know?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Yes, when you love a person, you do things for him, like you do it according to his this thing.
No, but how do we know?
But sometimes, because he becomes happy, but sometimes when you love a person, you have to check him also. You have to tell him also. You have to teach him also. See, when you just ask for it, yes. No problem. Like when you love your children, you do things unconditionally. You love them, but you reprimand them also. You check them also, isn't it, Prabhu?
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, I'm not denying that we might see, like for example, love of Balaram. It depends on our relationship also, right? But see, the important thing is when we say that which that person likes means it's not prayers, it's shreyas, meaning it's a long term what is good for them. Also, we keep in mind. There's so many things, but fundamentally, it's not about just doing whatever we think is right, right? Like for example, see, even relationship with children, it's very tricky. We have to do what they want, but we also have to do what is right for them. Okay, so but now just from that mundane thought process to coming to Krishna, right? So love for Krishna is just doing whatever he likes, whatever he desires. Now the question is, how do I know what he likes or what he desires?
Surrender. So you have the servitude attitude, not the lording over attitude.
Okay, but how do we know what he likes?
The Shastras the Shastras
we can ask
tell you.
direct.
The senior devotees, Guru Shastra, they tell you what he likes and what he dislikes. Now you don't have whims and fancies about it.
So we have to read, we have to hear,
You have to
right,
read.
from
Yes,
Shastra.
yes.
So only
yes.
by knowledge can we know what Krishna likes.
Yeah.
Right. Now, if you're not acquired knowledge about Krishna, then there's no way we can understand what he likes. Then whatever we do will be what we call as mental speculation or whimsical behavior. So we have to understand that is the whole reason that one has to read Shastra. If we don't read our scriptures, there is no way we can understand what Krishna likes, what Krishna does not like. So which is why, though jnana, we might think that, oh, no, we are bhakti, but Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prajitaha Janayati Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Janayati, meaning automatically it results in understanding, knowledge, and Vairagya. So we have to know Krishna. Without knowing Krishna as a person, we cannot know how to serve, how to love him, how to love means service, right? How to serve him, we won't know. And hence the need for good Shravanam. Right, hearing from Prabhupada. I mean, when I just talk about good Shravanam, simply every time I say this, simply replace it by saying that reading Prabhupada's books. I am not meaning anything else when I say Shravanam. Because see, all we are trying to do in these sessions are actually trying to understand the depth of Prabhupada's writing, how deep it is, how relevant it is, how absolutely required it is for all of us in our process of, in our path of bhakti. That loving service is the perfect stage of sense control. See, such a beautiful statement. Again, can somebody break this down? Help us understand what this means. Now, loving service is the perfect stage of sense control. What does this mean? How does that result in perfect sense control?
The mother-child analogy is the best, no, Prabhu. Like, even if she's wet, even if she's this thing, like, she'll do every service and her senses are controlled. Like, even if she's hungry, she'll first feel the child.
Yeah.
Even
Okay.
if, like, like you see this in day-to-day life, isn't
Yeah.
it, Prabhu?
Yeah.
Like, your senses are controlled when you're doing parenting.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Anything else? Any other thoughts? What does loving service do to a
Since
person?
Lord is the master of the senses, and when we engage our senses in his service, they are automatically controlled. Like
No, but that is not
Prabhupada used
loving
to quote,
service.
Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchate.
Yeah, but that is not loving service. We are talking about loving service. Service means engaging service senses in the
It
service of the Lord.
it
I
gives
am
you a bonding,
specifically
Prabhu.
asking. Yeah.
It
So,
gives you a
see, it
bonding.
creates an absorption. We have to understand this. See, love creates love. This loving service creates an absorption. What is that absorption? That absorption absorbs you in the thought process 24 hours a day. This is why there is a big difference between loving service and service. Prabhupada gives this mundane example, right? When a boy and girl love each other, they're always thinking about when they will meet next. It is absorbing. They can't think about anything else. They don't function on the material platform, on the platform. They are oblivious. They don't know what's happening around them. So loving means that it creates a very deep absorption. And when that absorption is so deep, so I can give an example. For example, say some Matajis who are doing garland seva, for example. Preachers, though, it's very easy to give. But even like other services, like say somebody is doing garland seva. When they do garland seva or DT dressing or whatever, right? Garland seva is more relevant because it's a day-to-day thingy. Right, so we make some garlands, we offer it to the Lord. Then when darshan opens, and then we see, and then we are very happy, and then we also recognize some aspects which we can improve, or suddenly Krishna gives some inspiration to think of doing something slightly different, which might be more nicer, etc., etc. So now then those devotees who are actually leading this service, now they're thinking, okay, can I get this kind of flower next time? Can I do this? Can I do that? So all the time they're simply thinking about how to make it better, how to please Krishna more. Hmm. So this loving service absorbs them such that even in their home, they're doing whatever they're doing, they're simply thinking, okay, this flower, see this flower today, these flowers became wilted off very soon. It didn't look good by the evening. So we will go deep and deep and deep into the service, and the different aspects of that service, and then we become absorbed. We become so absorbed that we are consumed by that thought process. And when we are consumed by something, then our senses have there's no time to think about anything else. And that is the reason that this control cannot come when we are, we have to come to this vanaprastha stage for us to gain this. If you don't come to this vanaprastha stage, it is very difficult to develop some of these qualities. Meaning full-time devotional service. It might not be possible for everybody, but we should all desire for this. The only desire we should have is that we should be in the association of pure devotees, and we should try to engage 24 hours of our time in devotional service. Only when we are able to do that, actually this love actually develops. Because otherwise, see, we might want to do, but we don't have time, we don't have space. I want to think about better ways of serving Krishna, but no time. As soon as I go to my office, etc., I'm just pulled, dragged here, there. So we have to desire for this. Of course, we are not talking about just giving up our responsibilities, etc., but we have to come to this stage of absorption. That is love. Many times I keep thinking, why Prabhupada, see, we have to understand this. Prabhupada did not tell his disciples to go and sit in Vrindavan, to go and sit in Radhakund, right? And meditate on the uh, eightfold pastimes. On the Astakaliya Leela, right? He didn't tell his disciples to go and meditate on Astakaliya Leela. He said, go out and preach. How is this preaching loving service? Has anybody thought about this? How is preaching loving service? And preaching is loving service. Preaching, again, when I say preaching, it's not just that person who sits on the, who's giving class. That's not preaching. Preaching means that's just one tiny aspect about the whole preaching. And preaching is loving service. How is preaching loving service? And what does preaching
Because
involve? Preaching involves,
Krishna himself says, right, Prabhu? I mean, he himself says, like, whoever is preaching this knowledge,
yeah,
right, in general to the general public. I mean, so he's saying, like,
yeah,
he's the most dearest
yeah. So
friend to
Krishna,
me. So
yeah,
again, you're doing what Krishna is willing.
yes, Krishna likes. So this is one thing directly from Bhagavad Gita. See, second thing is directly to emphasize this need or emphasize this fact more. Krishna himself came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to show us what we need to do to actually develop love for Krishna. So the more we engage in this preaching mission, and like I said, preaching mission doesn't simply means giving class. Preaching mission starts with outreach, going and talking to people, distributing books, more importantly, making them, give them access to Prabhupada, right? Then we might invite them for some of our, weekly programs, etc. But engaging in any aspect of this with absorption is loving service, because it pleases Chaitanya Mahaprabhu the most, Nityanand Prabhu the most, Krishna the most, Radharani the most. Why Radharani? Nobody speaks about preaching being dear to Radharani. Why preaching is dear to Radharani? Can somebody say?
Because we are glorifying Krishna.
Sorry, one by one, please. Yeah,
Because we
Shruti
are
Mataji.
talking about Krishna and glorifying him.
So,
So it is Radharani likes it.
okay. Okay, then what else? You should now know what Radharani's mood is to be able to answer this question. What is Radharani's mood?
I mean, her mood is to bring everyone to the service of Krishna.
Radharani just wants service of Krishna, that's all. She has nothing else in, she doesn't want anything else. Her whole existence is for Aradhana, is for Krishna's service. So she wants to bring more and more jivas and under the service of Krishna, into the service of Krishna. So preaching results in jivas coming to serve Krishna. So it makes Radharani very happy. Right? Because that is why Krishna came in the mood of, when we say Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we should immediately remember it is Krishna, but what is the mood? Mood is of Radharani. The preaching, is the mood of Radharani. Why? Because she wants to bring more and more devotees, jivas to serve Krishna, so that she's the overall orchestrator, right? So she knows, okay, there are so many millions of other services available which can be done. So it makes her very, very happy. So it's the easiest way to achieve Krishna Prema. That is the reason Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and gave. If Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had not come and given this, then, it would have been a very different situation for us. The senses are actually active symptoms of life and they cannot be stopped. They can be detached only if there is superior engagement. As it is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Param Drishtva Nivartate. The activities of senses can be stopped if they are given superior engagements. Superior engagement is engagement of the senses in the service of the Lord. That is the purpose of all yoga. Okay, so please put some fire. Put yourself on fire. Fire of Sankirtan. Fire of preaching, fire of book distribution. Otherwise, these things will take its own time. We might. Yeah, I mean, if you don't engage these activities, mostly we'll remain in Mishra stage. Then even if we come to Shuddha stage, it will take us a relatively longer time for us to actually achieve something meaningful. But if we engage ourselves in these teaching activities, then the process is very fast. Okay, I'll stop here. If anybody has any questions, comments, feel free. Nothing? Okay, we'll stop here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vancha Kalpatarupyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha. Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo. Koti Vaishnavande ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.